Hey, this is Gwyeth Smith, multifamily investor, and I want you to learn how to sharpen your axe and take down your biggest goals. You should be listening to Small X Communities podcast with my good friend Nico Salgado.
Hi, welcome to the show. I'm Nico Salgado, and I chat with top industry leaders in multifamily and business. I believe that it only takes a small axe to build a lasting empire. And if you want to learn how to use your small axe to accomplish your biggest dreams and goals, then join our Small Axe community and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to another episode of the Small Axe Communities podcast. And today we have my good friend Gwyeth Smith of Rustic Capital. Gwyeth has a BS in economics from James Madison University. After graduation, Gwyeth worked at an old Rockefeller Company performing domestic and international cost of living analysis. He then transitioned to investing and worked as a proprietary equity trader for multiple New York-based companies. At this time, Gwyeth began to explore alternative investments to Wall Street. He turned his New York City apartment into an asset by renting it and moving to Arizona to be with his future wife. There, he found another passion, helping people with limb loss. He followed a path where he became a certified prosthetist and in 10 years has helped countless amputees achieve feats that few able-bodied people could even imagine. Gwyeth's career in prosthetics didn't stop his passion for investing, and today his multifamily portfolio is impressive, including over 660 units as a GP and over 130 units as an LP, I believe, Mr. Gwyeth. So welcome to the show, and if there's anything you want to correct in that, just let me know.
No, man, that was great. You read that really well. I think I may have to update a few things in there, but no, yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Awesome. All right, Gwyeth. So let's talk a little bit more about your background. So you have a W-2 job. You are working currently as a prosthetist. Is that right?
Prosthetist would be the
Prosthetist. There you go.
yes, yeah. Yeah, so I've been doing that for about 12 years now. And, I guess as a little background, I got into it because I was kind of done trading. I had been doing that, and, trading got to the point for me that, and I was never really satisfied or happy with how my day ended up. So as a proprietary trader, you're trading an account, you're trading company money, but you're paying a commission to do so. So you're in charge of how you do and how much work you put in, how much research you put in. And, if you want to take a week off, you don't have to ask anybody, you can, but at the same time, you're not going to get paid. So anyway, point being, I would have days where I would make money. I would have days where I would lose money. And the days that I made money, I'd be upset because I didn't optimize the trade. I'd say like, oh, I got out of that too early, or, I should have got in here. So even on good days, I was still kind of beating myself up over things that I missed. And on days that I was down, I was just upset that I was down. So realized that wasn't anything sustainable for me. And I had the epiphany to look for something else. And at that time, I really wanted to work with both my hands and, with my mind. And I came across prosthetics, and it was a path I followed and I've been doing for the past 12 years.
Cool, man. So did you find yourself burning out when you're doing the trading?
Yeah, to a certain extent, like I said, there was never an end of the day where, I was totally satisfied with the performance.
So it's kind of like you're pushing yourself, really. I mean, you're that kind of person that's got that overdrive mentality, and there's really no limit to what you're going to get accomplished. So now you're setting these huge goals for yourself and burning out, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was really the impetus to look for something else. And the last 12 years have been great, but I think like most who get into multifamily investing, or at least have that entrepreneurial spirit, it starts to wear on them, the confines of the W-2, and needing to ask permission to do certain things, and not having complete control of your time. And, today's a perfect example. My wife and kids are, Pittsburgh. I got to go there for a short period of time with them, but I needed to come back for my job. I couldn't take any more days. So, traveling separate is just something that gnaws at me. And it's one of the main drivers for trying to do what I do now with multifamily.
Okay, great, man. So, but you do love what you do. You love the prosthetics. You love helping people because it is a very, very, it's a rewarding, job that I've seen. You know, I actually work with kids also who use prosthetics, and I'm sure you've helped, you know, contribute to that, to the same people that I am working with at Camp Anchor here on Long Island. And you know, I just see the value that you bring to people, and it's got to be something that's rewarding. So now, on the other hand, you're saying you're missing out on a lot of family time and just flexibility, and I guess you can say like freedom in a way. So you're moving on, you're saying, to multifamily. When did you get involved in multifamily real estate?
I bought my first place back in 2016. Bought a couple smaller properties in Pittsburgh. That's where my wife is from, so we had familiarity with that market. And I started growing it there. And I did something in 16. I did a pretty much a duplex in 16, a fourplex in 17. Got into a 13 unit with a partner in 18. It's been on a pretty decent path, so it's been growing on a yearly basis, and the growth I'm happy with, and just kind of excited for bigger and better things.
Cool, man. So, but why did you start buying real estate?
So I guess it goes back to always being an investor of sorts, back to the equity trading, and I've always been involved in some sort of investment, and I still am. So, I mean, I still have a stock portfolio. I still look at different ways to invest money. I'm a sucker for Warren Buffett. So, I kind of read his books and I love his quotes, I'll probably destroy this right now, but if you can't find a way to make money while you sleep, you're going to work till you die.
Uh-huh.
Stuff like that's always kind of resonated with me. So there was always that. And I guess when I always knew about investing in real estate in one form or another. And when I guess got into bigger pockets and started diving more into it, and connecting with different people, multifamily just stuck out to me as a means to an end, but also a way that there's a lot of different paths within multifamily that you can attack, and that you can play with. So I like that. And that was, one of the main reasons I got involved in our community here at, Jake and Gino, the Wheelbound Profits Academy. And that just, that brought everything to another level.
Wait, well, let's just briefly talk about the first deal you did. You said it was a duplex.
Yep.
Were you afraid?
Duplex.
What was the feeling? What was the emotion behind that? Was it fear, excitement? How describe that?
I don't remember there being a ton of fear. I think we were confident. When I say we, me and my wife, I think we were confident in what we were doing. We had resources in place. We had a friend there who was a contractor who was helping us out. We had a good relationship with a broker who was really pre-screening deals for us. I mean, so she would go walk them, and she's told us no enough on deals that she looked at and said they weren't good, that when she said yes, we had a level of confidence to say, like, okay, let's now send Jason, and Jason's going to go look. And when he came back and he said yes, I mean, I won't lie, we bought that property without seeing it. We had people there who were kind of scouting for us, and they were honest with us, and they said no. And when they said yes, we kind of had a good feeling, and we started the negotiation process.
Awesome, man. And then so you got that duplex, and then you did what, a 13 unit you said, or
The fourplex came after the duplex,
okay.
and that was it was a direct result of the duplex. Same broker. She enjoyed working with us on that one, and something just became available. It was basically the daughter of the investor was the realtor. That was an amazing process. We won't get into it too much, but the whole process of buying the duplex was a little rough. Seller just wasn't very easy to deal with. The selling broker wasn't easy to deal with. But for as rough as that was, it was so nice to do the fourplex because everybody was working together. It was just a very smooth process.
Cool, man. So things got a lot easier after that first deal.
Yeah, and it wasn't. I don't think it was anything that we did. I think we lucked out with the kind of people we were dealing with on the fourplex as opposed to the duplex. Everything was
Gotcha.
very contentious on the duplex, and everything was very accommodating on the fourplex.
So where did you go from the fourplex?
So started connecting with other people, and this was my first foray, with a partner outside my wife. And I connected with a guy, and we got along real well, and we did some things together like private lending and this and that. And we had spoken about, trying to do a bigger property, and we were thinking about in that like 10 to 15 unit range. And this 13 unit became available. It was brought to us by a broker that we had previously dealt with. And now we're moving from residential broker to commercial broker, and we decided to go for it. And we did, and it's actually a property that, I call him now my former partner because he is, he wanted bought out very soon after we bought it. He got cold feet, and we worked out a deal to do that. But the 13 unit was my first foray into partnerships. It was a partnership that, I don't want to say it failed because we're still on good terms, and he holds a note for me on that property, but it's definitely one where I learned how to vet a partner and how to just make sure that partners are really on the same page and really have a similar ability for a deal to go sideways, I guess we'll say. Not saying that the deal went sideways, but he really needed distribution from that property. And I was saying if things were going sideways, or if the property wasn't performing to how we underwrote it to, that we still needed to keep money in that property to finish the plan. And that was where the biggest rift in our beliefs was. So that led to the buyout.
Interesting, man. So yeah, for all those millions of listeners that we got right now, I'm going to share that I met you in the Jake and Gino community also, because I'm also in the Wheelbarrow Profits Academy with you. And, things, when we started speaking and talking, connecting, one of the first questions you asked me was, what is my long-term vision, or what's my vision with owning properties? Because as you're vetting partners, there is challenges can arise if you're not on the same page, and you guys now, I'm assuming you bring, with every partnership you do, you probably bring that up front right away and have that conversation in the beginning. Is that right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, other people that I'm partnered with now. So, within the community, the guys that I've partnered with, Mike, Duran, and Chris, we always have those conversations. We had those conversations. If we partner with somebody else, those conversations are had. And, my story of having a partner where it didn't really work out, they have the same stories, but they're just a little bit different stories. So we all bring our story as to how the previous partnership could have been better, and just make sure that that's brought to the forefront, and that we're all just kind of in alignment with what we are. We're all in alignment with where we are and where we want to be.
Yeah, man, that's great. So it's like a work in progress. So, you're constantly revising your script and your game plan, I guess, as you go into different partnerships with people. And now, in the beginning, there's value to owning duplexes. There's value to owning fourplexes. Even the 13 unit, there's all this value to it, because but aside from the fact that you're getting passive income monthly, hopefully, right? That's one of the goals, that you're getting some income monthly. You're also having principal pay down, and eventually, you're going to be selling these units. Do you ever plan on selling, or have you sold any to this day?
So it's good timing on that question. I actually just accepted an offer on the 13 unit. I'm not officially under contract. They're working on the agreement of sale. I was having a conversation with the broker who sold it to me. I don't have good terms on the note, on the mortgage on that one. When I bought it, interest rates spiked, proceeds were going down. So I basically have a note it's Fannie Mae, but it's 5.19%.
Oh,
$300,000 prepayment penalty.
Wow.
So I can't necessarily refi it because of the prepayment. I can't really sell it because of the prepayment. So I ultimately will be selling it, but it's done under a loan assumption. I was just pretty surprised with the price that he said he could get, and he got pretty darn close. So I told him if he got the price he said he could, that I would sell, and came back to me with a bunch of offers that wasn't that price. And I, had to apologize to say that, I'm sorry if I misled you here, but, you said this price, not that price. He came back to me and kind of got that price. So I said, all right.
Awesome, man. Make it happen. That's awesome. Yeah, we spoke about this deal, and I'm happy for you, because this means you can share what you're gonna do with it, I guess. But why sell? Were you cash flowing on that one?
The main reason to sell was that, it was cash flowing all right, but I had a good chunk of equity in it. So, I just felt like that equity could be better served elsewhere. I was paying that high note. There was high leverage on it because we got in, I think it was 78 LTV. And then when I bought out my partner, he was basically holding a $100,000 note. So I was paying him on top of the LTV. So, the LTV to me was probably close to 90%. So the cash flow wasn't great at all. And there are some things here and there, but honestly, I figured if I can get my initial equity out, if I could get a little extra, I just felt that equity was better served elsewhere. I definitely made some mistakes with that one. I didn't raise, but I didn't have enough of a capital expenditure budget. And this goes back to making sure you're in with the right partners, because we had negotiated in that sale to get money back from the seller for certain items that we needed done. At the end, my partner, he needed more money. So he needed to use that money to go towards the purchase price instead of what it was really earmarked to, which was to, replace certain HVAC units. That put a strain on the property because now we're running everything out of this property out of operations. So we don't have money set aside to do the CapEx items that we had set aside to do. Now we're doing it out of monthly cash flow. And there was issue on his end that now the monthly cash flow isn't what we projected because we're using those cash flows to do renovation and CapEx on the property. So there were mistakes made, and I just feel to get out of it, like what I'm getting out of it, and to make money on it. I mean, I'm just kind of lucky with the market that we're in. I just feel like it's a good opportunity to get that back and then redeploy it elsewhere.
I agree. Awesome, man. So you're going to use that money towards another property?
Yeah.
Awesome. I just want to kind of ask you a quick question about your partner. Is he still investing in real estate?
So he had some smaller properties as well. I think he had a duplex and a triplex. From what I understand, I think he liquidated those. I think he sold those, and I know that he was looking to get into land. I remember talking with him, and kind of didn't want to deal with tenants and that type of stuff anymore, CapEx. So he was looking for more land deals and potentially flips. So I think he was kind of different than a lot of us, looking for more transactional stuff than actual long-term wealth building stuff.
Yeah, very different. That's a very different tax strategy as well. When we talk about you and I and our goals and other people, and especially a lot of people in the Jake and Gino community, we talk about, creating or buying assets that are going to be cash flowing and giving us income so that eventually we can retire. And really that's my goal. And I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's your goal as well. You want to get out of the W-2 and be kind of hands off as much as possible at some point.
Yeah, at some point, I definitely. So I wouldn't say that I want to be hands off because I still like an active role. So I mean, I enjoy underwriting the deals. I enjoy going through that process. For me, it's exciting. It's exciting to see what you can do with the deal. It's exciting to make the relationships and to use those relationships to to do something big and crazy. So I enjoy the active part of it, and as well as the active management part of it. I think part of my my long-term vision is to be able to take what I'm doing now on a real part-time basis and really grow it into a more full-time basis where there's going to be a certain sort of both asset management, but maybe creating the property management or creating other avenues along, the real estate realm that can just add to the bigger picture or, like the mothership, if you will.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that, hands off, but you're right, because people like you, and I know you pretty well at this point, you are a go-getter. You're always working. You enjoy working. You enjoy what you do. It for you and for me and for a lot of people like us, it's kind of like it's a game. And I don't think I'm ever going to stop working. You're right. I'm going to be working. I'm going to be doing things that I enjoy doing. And I really do enjoy working on real estate deals. What was the next property up after the third, or what was the biggest one you did once you joined the Jake and Gino community?
So I've done some co-sponsorship deals on properties that are big, that 348, 350. I've done limited partnership deals on similar sizes. My main responsibilities there, I mean, outside the limited partner ones, were equity raise, investor relations, and not just investor relations for my investors, but for like the project's investors. Going through the reports, there is an aspect of advice is the wrong word, but being involved in the project and having your voice heard, which is always nice. I don't want to be in a project where my voice isn't heard, at least, right? So I understand I'm not making the final decisions with regards to managing the property or what we're going to do next on the CapEx front. I mean, we have boots on the ground for that, but I at least really like to know that my voice is heard, to say like, hey, maybe we should do this, maybe we should, maybe we bite the bullet this time, hold the distribution to keep more, keep more cash in the account because we know this is coming up. I'm lucky to be in a partnership where my voice is heard in that way, even though what I am to that deal is really a co-sponsor who raised equity. So I've done that on a larger scale, but the bigger one after that would have been a purchase of a 42 unit in Jeffersonville, Indiana, with the guys I just mentioned before, Mike, Chris Duran. So we connected in the Jake and Gino community, and we were looking at things, and this thing was something that we liked, and we went through that process together. It ended up being a great process, good enough that we started looking at a lot more things together. We're always talking, always game planning, always strategizing. It's led us to other opportunities that we're, looking at and working on now.
That's awesome. And I've spoken with all your partners. I love them all. They're really good people. So let's talk quickly about that deal, because that's something that's feasible for a lot of people, to come together with 4 or 5 guys to pull together some of their resources and buy a property actively. So now they are on the active side. So what does that entail for all of you guys? Or do you have specific roles, or do you have certain meeting times, or how much effort are you putting into that property?
We put a good deal of effort into it. So when we started, we didn't really have defined roles, I would say. We sort of found our roles. So, I mean, just a funny example, like from the beginning, I said, I don't want to deal with a lawyer. I said, anytime I'm on the phone with a lawyer, all I hear is like the cash register going off, going off, going off. And I'm like, so I'm real fast to get off the phone with the lawyer,
Yeah.
and I may miss a few questions because that's all I hear. So, so so Jerome was like, all right, I'll deal with the lawyer. I'll deal with that. I had been the guy that had really dealt with the broker. It just happened that way. I can't remember. Me and Mike were out there, and we met with the guy, and he sort of introduced us to that property when we were out there. But for whatever reason, I became the person that was really dealing with the broker. So I was doing like the broker correspondences. So everybody found their roles. I mean, Mike was just on top of everything. He was like, it became a running joke. If there was a request put in by email, and like if I knew I could handle that request, I would like try really, really quickly to do it, because I knew if it was more than like 2 minutes later, like he would have it done.
Yeah.
And Chris, we joke about Chris because I say he is the absolute best question. Like, he will make sure we are familiar with and know what to do with anything, because he comes up with the best questions, has no qualms about asking all those questions. And I wasn't there for this, but they were telling me when we were out there and we were at the was it the building development department, or I'm sorry, the economic development department of Jeffersonville. He was out there just asking the guy question after question after question, getting comfortable with it. Whereas a lot of us would have just been like, okay, so you say it's good, but I mean, he really gets into detail, and he really gets into it. So we all have, we all have things that we bring, and we all balance one another out. There's a couple of us that are, pretty gung-ho and really ready to jump in line with 2 feet. And then there's a couple of us that really pull the reins back and say, guys, hang on a second. You're nuts.
That's awesome. Is there do you guys set weekly, monthly goals or tasks for that specific property, or how does that work?
So there's a weekly call that happens. Chris pretty much handles that. We get weekly reports. We speak weekly on getting together over it. Mike and Duran were just recently out there for a site visit. So yeah, we have goals. I mean, they're probably not written down as clearly as we would like to say, like, hey, we want to maintain 95% occupancy. We want to make sure that every new unit that's becoming available is going to be leased up in this much time. We don't have it set like that, but we do see, we'll see the vacancy report and we'll be like, okay, this unit has been sitting vacant for this many days, why, and then we try to backtrack to find out why that unit's sitting vacant, or why this task hasn't been completed in this much time, or, why we're sitting at 92% occupancy as opposed to 95%, just things like that. So we don't necessarily have the metric written down, like the goal we want to achieve, but we look at it and we, I guess to a certain extent, we know where we want to be. We just haven't written it down to have like a flag that says, look, not at 95, or this one's 20 days out. How come, how many applications are in, or how many people actually qualified for this one, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I got you. So when you guys do those weekly calls, do you include anybody on the property management team, or does one of you guys reach out to the property management team to address any issues after the fact?
So the weekly call that property management is on is the one that Chris handles. And there'll usually be like a guest person, whether it be Mike or Duran. It's usually not me. We've been pretty clear from the beginning that we want to really represent one voice. So we don't want to come at them with like 4 different voices and confuse them as to, as to what they need to do or who's pulling them in what direction.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to be really cognizant of coming in with one voice, so that happens. And usually the people on the call are the on-site manager, who's not really on site, so I shouldn't call her on-site manager, but the property manager, and then the regional manager. If we need to go to the director of operations or one of the owners for something, I mean, that's, those are things that can happen.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that. I think that's great advice for people. And what you guys did and accomplished is very doable. You just get a few guys together, you buy an apartment building, and you oversee it. I think that's something that's manageable for many of the people that are going to be listening to this podcast. So that's excellent advice. And I'm gonna, move on a little bit now to talk, to have just a couple more questions. One of them is about the Jake and Gino community, the Wheelbarrow Profits Academy. I would just like to hear from your perspective how it helped you. Maybe there was maybe just a couple of points that you can touch on that you feel were very beneficial for joining the Jake and Gino community.
For me, it's 100% the people in the community, and all the education and all the other stuff is like an added bonus. I'd pay what I paid just to be surrounded by those people. I guess you can look at it like this. I mean, you always hear when you're a newer, whether it be investor or entrepreneur or whatever you want to be, like, personal growth person, that you want to surround yourself with like-minded people. I didn't have that entourage of like-minded people in my life, prior to joining this community. After joining that community, like, these are the people that I'm associating with. These are the people that I'm talking with on a daily basis. And we're talking about the things that speak to me, that are going to help me grow. So there's no way, absolutely no way, I would be to where I am now and where I'm going. And there's exciting things on the horizon here. And it's just absolutely wouldn't happen without just the community members. And I'll give a shout out to Darren Light here, because before I joined, I asked for a reference. And, Josh Rusin referred me to Darren Light just to talk about what it's like to be in the community. And I still remember, like it was yesterday, Darren says, he's like, the one thing I'll say about this community, he's like, I haven't found one asshole in it. And I was like, really? And I mean, he's right. I mean, I just feel like everybody just is out to help everybody else out. There's no ego. You think back to like when you're a kid, and I don't want to say you root for people to lose, but like you get competitive, and you want to beat people, and it's almost you want to beat the person to the point of the other person losing, right? But it's not like that at all in here. Like everybody wants everybody, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just glamorizing it in my head, but I feel like everybody wants everybody else to succeed, is willing to do whatever they can to, for that person to achieve that. So for me, it's a very selfless community.
I don't think you're glamorizing at all. I felt the same exact way. And it was strange to me, realizing the support, the level of support, the level of rooting on that you get in this community. And it's not only the like-minded individuals. They go, they interview every single person that comes into the community, and they're not going to accept everybody. So there's a certain mentality and mindset and personality and integrity, level that they're looking for in this community. And every single person that I talk to, whether or not we're investing in the same area, we have the same mindset of just helping each other. And it seems like with a community like this, we're going to take over the entire United States of America, but through helping and supporting and uplifting each other. And I think with that alone, you're right. I mean, the value is there. There was the same as you. There was no way I would be where I am today without this community, because I can lean on people in so many different areas and in so many different levels of the company. I can just lean on so many different people, and I've just been provided with this guidance and support that I wouldn't have never found on my own. So I agree 100%. Let's talk quickly about what's the future for you, Gwyeth. What are you going to do, man? What's the goal? What's the next step?
Well, the next step is to, we're in a time where there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know what's going to happen with regards to economy, with regards to business cycle, with regards to the health of the nation. It's a tough time to dive into things. So, but with that said, it's a tough time to be on the sidelines, because the more you just sit on the sidelines, the more you're not out there in front of people, the harder it's going to be when the opportunities do arise. But with that said, I mean, we're probably underwriting more now than we ever have, and we're putting offers on stuff, like us, and, we're trying to get out there, and we're trying to put in offers that make sense. I mean, we're underwriting for negative rent growth. We're underwriting for the P&I reserve. So, I mean, we're putting all this into our underwriting and we're coming up with prices that make sense to us, even given the uncertainty of the economy right now and what the future holds. And I think we're starting to see some, some kinks in the armor. To be honest, I feel like in our property, at least, like we're seeing more delinquency this month than we've seen the past three. And everybody in the beginning said like, oh, May is going to be bad, or April's going to be bad, and May's going to be bad, and June's going to be bad. And then everybody's like, no, man, I'm doing better than ever. It's like we have record collections, we have record this, record that, and nobody was really hit. And we were the same, to a certain extent. Like we didn't really notice a big change in where we were, where we were shaken out. And granted, it was a newer property. I mean, we closed in January, so we didn't have a lot of history to go by, but we were doing what we thought we would. We're seeing a little more letters come in looking for plan to pays and, letters of hardship for COVID this month. So, I think it's going to get a little bit interesting in the next couple. But with that said, I mean, those are the things that you underwrite for and you project out for. And we're still being active, and we're looking for ways to potentially counteract that. So I think looking at multifamily, but maybe not single asset type of projects is someone you can consider. Kind of diversify yourself over a portfolio a little bit. Just looking at ways that we can still remain active and still invest in this environment and do so smartly and with a good risk adjusted return.
That's great, man. Mike, Mike was talking also about when the government stimulus was going to run out, or when the, the benefits are going to run out for people. That's when I guess landlords are going to start feeling a little bit bigger of a hit. And you were right. Everybody's saying, "Oh, April's been excellent." May. This is, by the way, for everybody listening, this is July 11th, 2020. So we're still in the midst of COVID, or the July 12th, right? And we're still in the midst of COVID. COVID is rocking and rolling, and things are getting worse in certain areas. But that hasn't necessarily shown on the on the delinquency side until pretty much now, is what you're saying, Gwyeth. So you're right. Some sellers are finally beginning to shake a little bit, finally beginning to tremble a little bit. People who are coming out of their interest only periods, they might be into some trouble. And like you're saying, we're just looking at everything, analyzing everything the way it should be done with a very conservative mind and looking to jump into something if possible. But obviously we're not going to get into any stupid deals at this point, because that would be just kind of ridiculous as well. The deal's got to make sense. But I can attest to you being a go-getter, man, like nonstop excited. If anybody out there is wanting to work with somebody with passion, excitement, and just that go-getting attitude, call up Mr. Gwyeth. This guy is like on it, and he's looking to see a deal through to the end. He's not one of those guys who's like, well, I'm kind of half in, half out. No, he is in and he goes for it and he drives it home. So that's why he makes the closer club. Okay, so Gwyeth is a go-getter. He's a closer. If you would like to talk to somebody like him, reach out to him. And before we go and get to your information, Gwyeth, I have one more big question for you. Let's say it was 100 years from now, and you have grandkids or great grandkids, and they are inspired by Grandpa Gwyeth, who set this great path for the future of his family, and they want to write a book about you. Okay, so what do you think? Either what would the title of the book be, or what would some of the characteristic traits you would like them to portray in that book?
Man, um, title of the book after all those years. Probably something along the lines of it's really not that difficult. Don't make it harder than it is.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of the reasoning behind the company that me and my wife started. We titled it Rustic Capital, and the rustic was more along the lines of like just elemental, simple. Let's not overcomplicate things. Fundamentals. Just kind of getting down to basics. So something along those lines for the title. Like hopefully, if they write about me, they just think I was an overall good person and never screwed anybody out of anything, and proud that I was their family member.
Oh, that's great, man. And I can attest to that. Your character is one of a kind, really good human being. So Grandpa Gwyeth, Mr. Rustic, don't overcomplicate things. I love it. Hey, Grandpa Gwyeth, how can the listeners get in touch with you?
Email is a good way. It's my first name is Gwyeth. It's spelled Gwyeth at rustic-capital.com. You can find me on Facebook, although I have to say that I'm not great at Facebook Messenger. There may be many days that go by before I realize I have a message. Phone number 516-238-4150.
All right, guys. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Gwyeth. And we will be seeing everybody soon. And I'll be talking to you pretty soon, Gwyeth. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it, Nika.
I would like to say thank you for listening to another episode of my podcast, where we show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. Now, if you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website at smalaxecommunities.com. And until the next episode, keep sharpening those axes.